Well, for more on the situation in Burkina Faso, we're now joined via Zoom by Fahiraman Rodrigue Kone of the Institute of Security Studies from Bamako in Mali. Thanks so much indeed for joining us and welcome to the program.
Thank you.
What do you think is behind this escalation in attacks? And I'm assuming that it has been escalating over time.
Yes, this attack, for the time being, has not been yet claimed. But what we do know is that this area of Burkina Faso is part of a larger three-border Saharan region shared with Niger and Mali, which is a disputed area between jihadist groups affiliated to Al-Qaeda in the Maghreb Islamic and the Islamic State and other local armed groups. And, however, we know that this civilian mass killing is a specific way of operating for the Islamic State. Strong suspicion goes towards this group because of two additional reasons. Firstly, here in this year, the Islamic State claimed two similar attacks with more than 100 fatalities in the same area, but at the border side, Niger side. And secondly, the head of this Islamic State group, which conducted the Solhan attack, is a native of Solhan region, and that could explain a strategy of implementation of this group in the region. And for the time being, it is too early to have a clear explanation of what's happened. Nonetheless, this reason could be three reasons could be given. Firstly, it could be a reprisal against the Solhan community for its active cooperation with the National Army. Last year, I think early last year in January, the Burkina Faso authorities endorsed a community counterterrorism policy, which actively involved young native volunteers. And this policy finally exposed highly the collaborative communities to extremist groups because they are seen as enemy of this group and are the first actors of the state security channel. The second reason is that the Solhan region is becoming a strong artisanal gold mining economy. We know that the control of this informal economy is a strategy of armed and extremist groups, which need financial and logistic means to implant and operate. And last reason, it could be a result of rivalries between competitive jihadist groups to control the area. In 2019, the Islamic State has been chased on this by the Al-Qaeda in this region. And this mass attack against the civilians could be a signal of return of Islamic State, which want to reaffirm the domination of the area.
Are the Burkinabe forces unable to manage this insurgency, these militants? And are they getting assistance? Normally, France steps in to help its former colonies.
Yes, but it is a really difficult crisis for Burkina Faso, and it's very difficult to defeat the insurgency because of the nature of this crisis, which is multidimensional. Terrorist groups are moving in a very large cross-border spaces and are at the same time mixed with local communities. Burkina Faso cannot resolve this crisis without regional and international support. And it's a security crisis deep-rooted also in a governance crisis, which sometimes justify the deliberate cooperation of some members of community with armed groups. And the military response carried by Burkina Faso, even also the French cooperation, is not an ideal response in those underdeveloped regions. Burkina Faso must carry a long effort to promote the development of this region affected by insecurity. And the country needs more resources also for tackle this insecurity ingredients with military action, but also development action.
And I would imagine that Burkina Faso, which is bordered by Niger and Mali, with what's happening inside Mali, it is not helping the Burkinabe resistance to these militants, and it may be creating ease of movement for the militants in coming through from Mali side.
Yeah, this is a regional, once again, this is a regional crisis. And what's happened in one bordering country affects the other countries also. So the security, the Chavez crisis in Burkina Faso comes from the border side of Mali, and the insecurity in Mali and the political situation in Mali itself have a good impact, have a big impact on other regions like Niger and also Burkina Faso. That's why for the solution is there is really a need for regional cooperation, a broad approach which at the first time tackle security issues, but also deep and rooted causes linked to ill governance and governance crisis.
How close are these militants to getting into Ouagadougou, for example?
This part where the attacks occurred are very far from the Burkina Faso of the Ouagadougou, the capital. But at the same time, when you look at the map, you can see that the attacks also in the western part, in the south part also. So it's very far, but we should remember that there was also attacks inside the capital. The capital, one or two attacks like this, and so this is not really far from outside the capital.
If there isn't a integrated and sizable and significant intervention in terms with dealing with these militants, what do you see for the region and Burkina Faso in particular?
There is a high risk of a broad explosion in the region, including West Africa. You can see that there is Boko Haram incidency in the north of Nigeria, which also touched Niger. And recently there was an attack on the borderline with Côte d'Ivoire and also Benin, which means that there is a risk of escalation of the Sahel crisis in the coastal state. So the risk of a regional and broad crisis implying all these countries is already on the next door. So there is a need of international cooperation, regional cooperation, cooperation not only on security lines, but also on development lines too. It is important that also there is a need of negotiation, political solution, negotiating with where it's possible with armed groups and find the solution, I can say, a sustainable solution.
What is President Kabore saying about the killings and how it's going to be dealt with? Because I would imagine that citizens are living in fear right now.
Yeah, really, this security is really a psychological, I can say, it is very difficult for the local population because there are humanitarian crises following to this crisis. Now you see the sanitary infrastructures and also relevant issues like access to food. It is creating really a humanitarian crisis. And now governments like Burkina Faso government try to tackle these questions, these issues, but they need more and more international aid and broad cooperation to come over to this situation. military measures are taken, also action to try to create a negotiation in communities, dialogue between inside communities. But all those efforts should be supported by international aid.
The AU Commission Chairperson Musa Faki Mohammed has described the killing, this latest killings, as war crimes, and he's called for prompt and vigorous regional and international action against the perpetrators. Does that include his own African Union? Can the AU join the party here?
Yeah, it's important. Let's have to remember that in the region there is joint forces from G5 Sahel, which includes 5 countries: Chad, Niger, Burkina Faso, Mali, and Mauritania, which contribute in a security effort. And also there are presence from France troops and European troops. And there is really a need of more implication of regional bodies, such as AU and ECOWAS, to this effort. Because AU can have a strong voice, as we have seen with AMISOM in Somalia. AU was a key actor. And there is a need of cooperation. The first of all is African bodies, African regional bodies, which are, I can say, should be at the first stage of the resolution of this crisis. And AU could be a more, I think, could help simply all these efforts if they join the effort with the actual actors on the ground.
Fahiraman, Rodrigue, Kone, thank you so much indeed for joining us, and your insights greatly appreciated this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.